You know, before I get into the meat of this video, there's a few things that I need to say up front that will serve as the intro to this masterpiece. Many of you have already sent me emails regarding my fantasy island that I'm going to address in the whole. I'm not going to go into too much detail. By now, this should be second nature for y'all. If you want to see Fantasy Island in the rabbit hole, send me an email. I'll send you the link. Now, in this video here, and you've seen the title, and I'm going to make this a two-part video, and I'll explain to you why later in the video. But last night, I'm sitting back, I'm smoking a cigar, and I'm just chilling. And I'm shuffling through my DVD collection. I come across a set of DVDs that I have not viewed, but I had purchased. I just hadn't gotten around to watching it. That was Boondocks Season 5. So I thought, hey, why not? So I'm sitting there and I'm just chilling, smoking a stick, and I'm watching this DVD of the Boondocks. And again, I got my social critic antennas, they're down because I'm chilling, I'm relaxing. I'm just, I'm gonna smoke a cigar, I wanna get some laughs. I think this shit is funny. It's comical to me. But then the antennas went up. For some odd reason, I don't know what it is, but the political antennas went back up. And I think it went up, and if you've seen the Boondocks, if you've seen season 5, you'll know the one about the hair relaxer. If you're not a fan of Boondocks, then you don't know what I'm talking about. But there was one dealing with the creation of this hair relaxer, with which black women went crazy for because it made their hair silky smooth. You had to see it to understand it. And it was during that episode that the antennas began to go up. And as I continued to watch this season 5, by the time I was done putting the last DVD, the antennas was completely up. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking about Uncle Ruckus. I've been called Uncle Ruckus. We've heard many people who have different views on racial issues. Racial issues. This is the name that they're called. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, as I'm listening to Uncle Ruckus throughout this whole season 5 and other seasons that I have that I've watched of the Boondocks, and listened to things that Uncle Ruckus has said. And I had to ask myself a fundamental question, because at this point I told y'all the social critic antennas is up. And I asked myself a rhetorical question that I'm going to ask y'all. Those of you who've seen the Boondocks, we're familiar with who Uncle Ruckus was or is. And I asked myself this question: is he wrong in the stuff that he says about black people? Is he wrong? Is what this guy says, and again, it is what it is. It's a fictional character, but there's a message behind the madness. There's a message behind the madness. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and at this point, the antennas is up, and I'm already, constructing this video. Because we know how, and we know why Uncle Ruckus has become the poster child, if you will, for anybody who holds a different view on race. It matters not what the situation is. The situation don't matter. If you hold a different position that the majority of the Negroes subscribe to, you're in danger of being called Uncle Ruckus. And so when the Negro uses that to try to dismiss, because again, when you look at the appearance of Uncle Ruckus, you look at how he talks, his educational level, this is meant as an insult. And it's meant to try to get people not to listen to whatever you're saying, because after all, you're just an Uncle Ruckus. You hate yourself, you hate black people, you don't have nothing good to say about them. This is what the Negroes use when they call somebody an Uncle Ruckus. And this is consistent with the Negro. Because I've told y'all in many of my videos, I've documented this for y'all in many of my videos, you are not allowed, under no set of circumstances can you critique black people. You can't do it. You can't. And listen, no matter how fair that critique is, it don't even have to be an over-the-top, harsh critique or one that pushes the envelope. It could be a legitimate critique of black people, and if black folks don't like that critique, and you're white, you are going to be immediately called a racist. If you're black and you offer that critique and black folks don't like it, you're immediately going to be called Uncle Ruckus. And the reason why is because you cannot, under no set of circumstances, can you criticize black folks. Now, the interesting thing about this shit is that black people can criticize everybody. Black people can critique white folks. They can critique them all day, every day. They do so consistently. I mean, every time you turn around, white folks is under the microscope of this Negro. The white person, well, let me take that back. Scratch. It ain't the white person. It's the white man. Because we know the white woman is given a pass. And if you watch my videos, you know why that is. But the white man can do no right as far as this Negro is concerned. And the Negro will find himself offering a harsh analysis, a harsh critique of white men all day, every day. If that very same white man comes back and offers again a fair and balanced assessment of this Negro, immediately the Negro is going to cry foul, and he's going to call that white man a racist. And if it's a Negro or an African American who offers that kind of a critique of this Negro, he's going to call him Uncle Ruckus. This is how they operate. This is what they do. They will talk about how the person looks. They will talk about what they ate for breakfast, what they ate for dinner, who their neighbors are, where they shop, what their habits are. They will talk about everything other than what the critique is. And this is the same thing they do with Uncle Ruckus. And they talk about the way he looked, the one eye, he's dumb, he's ignorant, he's fat, he's out of shape. They'll talk about all that. But what they will not address is what he says. Is that true? And that is the crux for this Negro. Whenever you offer a critique of black people and black people don't like that critique, they will seek to address everything but that critique. They will talk about it. They'll throw everything up against the wall. How you wear your hair. You got on shades. Why you smoking a cigar? Why you doing this? Why you rub your hands together? Why you cracking your... They'll talk about everything but the critique. They are devoid of the ability to listen to what is said and critique that. And when you find Negroes who are in no position to make a rebuttal to a sound, logical, fair, and balanced critique, and they can't make a rebuttal to that, is because what is said is true. And that's the harsh reality that black folks don't want to deal with. And that's the reason why when you listen to Uncle Ruckus and you listen to things that he says, not how he says it, not how he uses broken English, not how he puts it together, not what he looks like. When you listen to what he says at its merit. Is he wrong? And the Negroes can't answer that. And the reason why they can't is because that man is right. He's right in a lot of what he says. He's right in a lot of his analysis on this Afro-American Negro. And if he were white saying the exact same thing, oh, he would have been done a long time ago because they would have called him a racist. This is what is done whenever you offer an analysis against a group of people who are so sensitive. Their skin is so thin. And it's really comical that black people have such thin skin when you take into consideration how much they criticize everybody else. I mean, that would be like me having thin skin. I mean, listen. Hey, listen, folks, I keep trying to tell y'all, I'm not new to this. I'm a veteran. I come to camp late. Y'all have to show up early because y'all rookies. I come late to camp. And I understand that, listen, when you offer the critiques that I offer, you're going to get it back. And you can't have thin skin. Why? Because as the adage goes, if you can't dish it out, hey, it is what it is. So when it comes back to you, you just got to bite the bullet, fall on the sword, and accept it. But black folks can't do this. They will critique Asians. They will critique Arabs. They will critique Jews. They will critique Hispanics. They will critique white men, period. Not that white woman now. Under no set of circumstances are they going to mess with Marsha Brady. Marsha Brady gets a pass, but I have to deal with that in another video, maybe in the hole. But even though they will critique all of these groups, if you come back and offer a fair assessment about it, again, I'm not talking about something that's over the top. I'm not talking about something that pushes the envelope, something that's insensitive. No, I'm talking about a legitimate, fair, balanced critique of Afro-American Negroes. If you do that and you're white, even though Negroes do this to white folk, you're going to be called a racist. You're going to be called a bigot. And if you're black and you offer, again, the fair and balanced assessment, not over the top, not pushing the envelope, just a fair and balanced assessment, you're going to be called Uncle Ruckus. Because this is the Negro's way at dismissing those who offer critiques of him. They cannot deal with the merit of what is being said. They cannot deconstruct what is being said. They cannot offer a valid, coherent opposition or oppositional position to what is being said. They can't do that. So the only thing they're going to do, if you white, you a bigot, you're a racist. If you black, you Uncle Ruckus. Look at your hair. Look at your eyes. Look at your skin. Look at what shoes you wearing. You wearing shades. You smoke cigars. You cracking your knuckles. You rubbing your hands in. They will deal with everything and anything other than what is being said. And when you find a Negro who don't have the ability to address a fair and balanced assessment of him, then that means that fair and balanced assessment is true. It's the same argument that I would get, and that's the reason why I'm going to do a part 2 to this video. And I talked about this in another video where I talk about the pro-slavery advocates. And once you read, because I took a course in college where one of the books for that course was Paul Finkelman's The Pro-Slavery Advocates. If you never read it, then you need to get it. I mean, because it outlines the major arguments that those who wanted slavery used to justify it. And when you read those pro-slavery arguments, and this was the book in the course, we read the book and then we would discuss the arguments. And we'd discuss each individual, George Fitzhugh, Charles Hammond, I mean, all these guys who offered fair, balanced assessments of slavery and defended slavery. And Paul Finkelman, who is a historian and a scholar on the subject of slavery, wrote one of his books, wrote many books. One of his books is The Pro-Slavery Advocates. And once you read those arguments, you have to sit back and you have to think logically. Listen, man, this shit makes sense. And I can remember discussing those books in class with Negroes in, the class, and they would get upset. They would get offended during the discussions because they had a black man who actually stood there and said, listen, I understand this argument. It makes sense. And I can recall them Negroes getting pissed off and they were mad. They couldn't believe it. And even the professor, one day after class, I'll never forget this. He pulled me to the side and he asked me, man, you just taking those positions because you like riling them up. No, I'm taking those positions because I read the book and I think their argument makes sense. Now, I know that's tough for coming from a black man. To hear a black man say, listen, the pro-slavery arguments, that shit makes sense. And it's the same thing that I would say about your Charles Carroll, no relation, who wrote the book, The Negro Beast. And I've offered this to people. Listen, man, his argument makes sense. I mean, once you read this stuff, and that's why I'm going to do a part 2 to this video, because in part 2, I'm going to give y'all the material that I've read, that I've researched from these so-called racists and these pseudoscientists. This pseudoscience that everybody dismissed as being racist and everybody wrote off because they said, no, they're just trying to put the Negro, in a subservient position. All of that stuff ain't true. It's not scholarly. But once you read it, and you read it with an open mind, you got to sit back and be like, well, God damn it, this shit makes sense. And when I tell Negroes this, they get offended. And that's the reason why I'm going to produce a part 2 to this video. And I'm going to give you the sources. I'm going to give you the books. And you go check them out for yourself. And you come tell me, man, you know what? You're right. That shit makes sense. Because a Negro, if you want to piss black folks off, and I ain't talking about ignorant Negroes. I'm talking about, ones that you can actually hold a conversation with. And I've done this. Had this conversation with black folk. And you ask them, which came first? Like the chicken or the egg? Which came first? Racism or slavery? 97% of Negroes will say racism. They will say, well, those white folks came to Africa and enslaved those Africans because they were racist toward black people. And in that assessment, they will never take into consideration that when the white man got to Africa, he was at the exterior of Africa. He had to be led into the interior of Africa where y'all were, and it was y'all who showed him. Now, that ain't in their analysis. You can forget that. That ain't going to be included in their analysis. Nor will it be included in their analysis that you had African chieftains and black pastors who sold black folks into slavery. Now, that's out of their analysis as well. You can forget that. It ain't going to be brought up. But if you ask them in a serious conversation, which came first, slavery or racism? 97% of black folks will say racism. And the reason why whites enslaved blacks is because they were racist. But when you offer them documentation, you offer them research. That has been done by respectable scholars. And I've mentioned Winthrop Jordan's White Over Black. I've talked to, you can read some of Paul Finkelman's stuff. Slavery and Social Death by Orlando Patterson. This is a black guy. Orlando Patterson is a black guy. He taught at Harvard. And you read these arguments where they make it plain. Listen, man, no, this was an economic system. That's the reason why you had well-to-do blacks who also owned slaves. But again, that's an argument that you're not going to hear with these Negroes. You can forget that. They're going to just say that these whites was racist and they enslaved black folks because they hated black folks. No, racism came after slavery. I know that's tough for y'all. I know it is because it don't fit the narrative. It don't fit the narrative. And this is what the Negro refuses to believe. He cannot digest this. He cannot deal with this. He cannot even begin to rationalize a black person saying this. But this is true. These are the facts. Likewise, when you listen to your Uncle Ruckuses, who offers a harsh critique of black people, and black people will use him and as a poster child for self-hate, and somebody who hates being black, and somebody who hates himself, hates his race, but they will never, not one time, will you find anybody critiquing anything that he says. Can't be debunked. Can't be deconstructed. That's the reason why I said, named this video what I named it. Uncle Ruckus Revisited. We got to look at him again. We got to look at him one more again. And when we put Uncle Ruckus back under the microscope, it's at that point that we begin to realize, wait a minute, wait. He may not say it with all of the verbiage that we may like. He may not dot all of his I's and cross all of his T's. But God damn it, God damn it, he's not wrong. When he talks about this Negro, he makes sense. But because you are not allowed, under no set of circumstances can you critique this Afro-American Negro. He can't do it. You just can't. You're not allowed. You can be as fair and balanced as you want. You can be as soft-spoken and quiet with your demeanor when you're doing it. They're going to have a problem because you cannot criticize black folks. They have the thinnest skin around, and their skin is so thin, and then to the point that you would have to scratch your head once you consider how much they critique everybody else, how much they criticize everybody else, how much they talk about everybody else except that white woman. She don't come up, you can forget that. That white woman ain't coming on no critique. Oh, hell no. No, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way in the world. You can take a white woman, and this is a side note, and you could have her make these delectable, delicious videos that I make, saying the very same thing, and these Negroes wouldn't have one problem with it. They have a problem with it because I'm a black man saying it. But she gets a pass. But anyway, you can't criticize this Negro, even though he criticizes everybody else. I'm going to come back with another video giving y'all those books. I want you to go read them, and you can see for yourself how true this shit was. At the end of the day.